Good morning. It is Friday, and that means it is time for the Friday Grief Chat with Jill.
And Deb here.
There, she's over there. There she is.
Yes. No,
there.
That way. Yeah.
That way. There we go.
Yes. Yeah.
Welcome to Friday. And it's a Friday that happens once a year. It's also Friday the 13th. So the Friday before Father's Day is Friday the 13th.
This year it is. This year it is. And wow, I'll just get right to it. We had the meeting of our grief group from the church, and I put forth about Father's Day because at least a couple of the men in the group are in different positions of relationship to their child or their child that died. And then we talked about this and we talked about that. So, like Mother's Day, Father's Day has a lot of, what do I want to say? A lot of feelings attached to it. And I'm just going to throw this out loud because another friend I was talking with today was talking about her dad. And, sometimes it's easier to love your parents when they're dead. It's because the constant onslaught of inner and outer chatter isn't there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes through estrangement or this or that, it's easier to love somebody or just let them be. It's not that you don't love them. It's too hard. There's too much anxiety or whatever, right? And also, there's feelings of whether they're estranged or not. They may feel, at least my friends have reported, or some of my clients, there's the good, bad, and the ugly of missing someone.
There is.
Yeah.
And at Father's Day, it all comes forward for those who have lost a dad, whether it's a conflictual relationship or a non-existent relationship that they wish that they could have had, or because the father absented, or non-existent because the father died when they were young, or non-existent because father was misidentified by mom. I've had a not insignificant number of people who, doing genealogy online, have discovered in the last few years that dad was not dad, and they're sort of left at Father's Day with, what do I do with that? And we have to come to terms with the person who raised you. Was your dad? The person who created you was someone who donated genetic material and gives you connections, yes, but wasn't the dad. But there's still that loss of, I wish I'd gotten to know him because he could have been a dad maybe, right? There's all those things. And then there's those of us who don't have dads because they've died now in our older years, right? You and I are both doing Father's Day along with Stace and your husband. No, none of us have dads.
And like you, I can't remember when your dad died, how old you were, but I was 14.
I was in my 40s. Yeah.
You were in your 40s. After at least 10 years, I remember saying, I don't know what is Father's Day? Right. There was and then I was sort of like, did I ever, I was asking myself recently, have I, even with my dad, I don't remember Father's Day. It might have been like we had a different kind of meal or we went out, but I don't remember giving him a gift. I may have made him a card. I literally do not remember.
My parents celebrated Father's and Mother's Day, and my dad for Mother's Day would always go down to a special card shop in town and we have a series of the most beautiful Mother's Day and anniversary cards you could ever see. And she returned it with funny cards mostly. But they made a deal of it. But we also spent every Father's Day with my dad absent because Father's Day is the day that the University of California, Riverside does commencement. And so my poor dad spent his entire career sitting on a sunny dais in a black robe with a suit underneath.
Oh,
in Riverside, California, where this weekend it will be 97 degrees. And we didn't have indoor arenas. Now they go to an arena, but he spent it sweltering in the sun, congratulating his students and hooding and all of that sort of thing. And he was glad to do it, but Father's Day was not a favorite for him in terms of the day. We celebrated on Saturday.
Wow. And the same way I have often been celebrated as a good enough mom. That means for whatever reasons, people didn't identify with their own mother. So they said, would you be my good enough mom? And I'm trying to think who I had as a good enough dad. And my dad was alive when I was in sixth grade. But there was something the way the sixth grade male teacher, Mr. Lyman, always treated me and looked out and did that sort of stand up for you, things that my own dad didn't do. And then when my dad died, it's like he took another interest in me, and he came to the funeral. He came afterwards while we were sitting Shiva. He came to graduation for probably many of his students, but when he kissed me on the cheek and said, I'm real proud of you, I just was like, because I still remember it, and I'm going to be 69,
Right.
So it just, I'm trying to think in my life, the good enough dads that I can remember. And I'm not. It's just real interesting. And yeah. Oh, Tina. Oh,
She loves
Tina.
the good enough mom. Yes.
Yes. Good enough
I
mom.
was lucky enough to have my dad all the way through my coming up years. But and we knew his absence was coming because of myositis, but the absence was profound and continues to be, because he was the dad that other kids would sometimes look to. He protected one child in particular from an abusive parent. He charged out the front door with his antique shotgun while the kid was staying with us under the auspices of the county, and ran him off the property, which was not something my mild and meek-mannered chemist dad would ever do. But he took the dad protection seriously. He also took the pet protection seriously. He ran down the street in his bathrobe one time to get the neighbor's deaf cat out of the mouth of a coyote, and succeeded. There's those memories.
I do have, and I've said it before, I remember my dad, whenever there was within my circle, he sensed a troubled teen, right? Early teen, like prepubescent, like 10, 11, or 12 or 13-year-old. My dad would protect them, would invite them, would stand up for them. And okay, this was the late 60s and 70s. my mother used to get upset because the boss's son, whom I won't say their names or anything, got arrested a few times for marijuana. And many years, and my dad would bail him out. On top of that, after dad died, my brother found a whole pack of marijuana cigarettes hidden in a cigarette pack, hidden in my dad built himself a dark room and found that. My brother found it. He was 9 or 10, found this pack. Mommy, what is this? And all she could say, damn that. And she named the person. And, my dad also, we did not know strangers in our house.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And dad brought to the house for all parties people that other people were very bigoted against.
Yes.
And
yes.
I appreciate that. And that's how I am,
I think that was one of the gifts from my dad, for which I'll be eternally grateful, as being a Californian. Because he was raised in the deep South in a very rural area. And he made an absolute decision not to take a post anywhere in that area because he didn't want to raise his children in segregation as he'd been raised.
Right.
And he didn't want them in a church that practiced segregation as he had been, or as conservative as the one in which he'd been raised. And so he made an absolute decision to get himself to the West Coast after he finished grad school. And I am extremely grateful for that, especially this week. Yeah, I'm with the bear.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very well said. Will you explain that to our listening audience? Because they would not.
Right. You don't know. The California state flag has our bear on it. And we identify with our California state bear. And then we also have a California bear that holds our state in his arms during times of crisis, which we happen to be in right now. And so we stand with our bear and our California state bear. And we are as a state, there's still lots of division, but we're still a unified state.
And sort of moving on from that, I want to talk about, tomorrow, tons of protests. And I looked up tons of protest signs. And, to go very neutral, you have to really be careful because you really want to make it about peace.
Right.
And not use any words. And I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to use it because even using it the word is triggered. So I'd rather say dysregulated, but I looked at signs not to use, such as quoting the musical Hamilton. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if you do it? One of the things that you might not want to write on a sign is, I'm not throwing away my shot, because shot is not an injection for COVID there. No. And so there's a lot of feelings that are going to be, and I'm going to make the signs for people. I have chosen not to go because I do get dysregulated emotionally by being around a lot of people. Oh, good. Tina says I'm walking in 2 vigils. I'm choosing the word vigil and not protest march. Thank you.
I like that a lot. I think I'm going to put vigil on my sign. Yeah, because it is. It's a matter of, we are in a sort of a manufactured crisis, and we need to stand vigil with those who are in harm's way. And that's my personal opinion. And that's the opinion I share that with Deb, I know. And so that is our bent on this particular show.
And I I recognize vigil, like grieving, to stand with and to support,
Mm-hmm.
and to keep a vigil is keeping watch for. And
Right.
there is so much grief and anger going on. That's where I get dysregulated. But what can I do? And I want to use that because several people say, I don't know. And if you don't feel like going, you're not a bad person. Ask
No.
yourself what you can do. And I mentioned to at least two people, can you bring water? Because it's going to be warm. Can you bring water? Can you go to, apparently, the daughter of the founder of Walmart? I had written this big uh, piece in New York Times or someplace saying
Right.
how she does stand with the vigil, as Tina said.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, go to Walmart if you support her, buy water and bring that and drop it off
At a
and just
safe distance.
at a safe distance. And that is something. And if
Right.
you cannot go there, you can sit, because you know me, Miss Woo Woo, I really think thoughts are energy. And
Mm-hmm.
take 15, 20 minutes to just be and support and send love and light. That
And
might
you
not
can
seem like something because we blow that off. How many times have we heard no action with sending love, thoughts, and prayers, right? But there is action in, you don't have to be the one to do everything.
You
That's
can
what I
also stay home and
Yeah,
send emails. Spend that time sending emails about the concerns that you in specific have and make them detailed and personal to those politicians who who are not listening and to you and to whom you need to provide input. That
right.
those count. And if you're at a vigil and it starts to get not okay, I'm sorry for the phone sounds, but I'm having to use the hotspot, so I don't want to turn anything off. Um, you can simply just sit down and you
Yes,
can make it clear that you're not participating in anything harmful, but you are standing watch. And that
I
is what
did
we are
that.
doing. We're standing watch over our country and standing watch over those who have no power at this moment in time.
George Floyd, that's what I did. I just sat
Mhm.
down. Being part of the emotions of people's, I know they were sad, but really angry when they,
Mhm.
I, it's, it's really hard for me. So I just sit down, close my eyes, put my fingertips together in what they call mudras or centering mudras. And that
Mhm.
I just stayed like that and
Mhm.
went within. And it helped me. But this
Right.
time, my husband saying, well, there might not be a congregation if we all get arrested. He means that as a joke. And then when both of us were thinking about going, we did ask, and I say this in a humorous way, our Republican neighbors if they would
Mhm.
bail us out. And they said, well, we're busy right here, so we might not get to you right away. And
Oh my gosh.
we were laughing. But and I said, oh, I totally understand. I know you're even busy. We won't die if we have to be in jail for whatever. However, from my friends that have been mistakenly arrested for things, they're still dealing with the trauma. So I am
No,
making light, but I also know the reality of it. It's a horrible, horrible situation. when you really are innocent and you just happen to be literally at the wrong time, at the wrong place, wrong place, wrong time.
And with people who are serving, who are being really, really stoked into not being the people they used to be in
Yes.
their mode of service. People who used to be really constitutionally abiding officers are being stoked into being something else now.
Yes.
And we know that group thought process impacts the decisions people make. And so I'm hoping that all the groups involved today and tomorrow will not stoke themselves into something that's not going to be safe for others around them or their community.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
we also can stand vigil and make it clear that what's happening right now is a loss for our country, is a loss for us individually, is a loss for other people, and we need to find ways to cope. And one of the ways we have as Americans is to express our First Amendment right to express our opinion.
Right.
That's enshrined in our documents. That's how we became a country.
Yeah.
We told George exactly what we thought of him.
One of the signs I saw was a picture of King George, and all it said from Hamilton was da 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 da, and it was just that, you know.
Right.
And so Jill and I are putting forth, choose your words carefully. You never know when, and this happened to me yesterday talking to a friend, you don't realize words you've said over the years to you meant one thing, and it was hurt feelings on the other end, while it was never your intent. In my case, it was never my intent. I didn't realize that. And you just don't know.
Right.
You just don't know. And if you do, own it. Say, I am so sorry I did. That's owning something. I am so sorry.
In the meantime, we'll stand with the bear while we're out here this weekend.
Stand with the bear.
And then honor Father's Day. And we need to talk about Air India too.
Now, I don't know if this picture is true or not, but there's a picture going around of a family. It says it's on this plane.
Apparently that is true, and they did indeed perish.
Oh, and then the one survivor in seat 11A.
And his brother in B who didn't survive.
Say again?
His brother was in 11B and did not survive.
Did not survive. I literally cannot imagine ever being in that situation, or what someone might be feeling, or how or when they would make sense of it. I have no idea. And for all those families, I relate to, because, you know, one of my cousins
was murdered.
Yes, but another
and then the other one, the plane accident,
was in a plane crash a couple decades ago. And I remember what was happening around that time. And his mom was literally on her deathbed. And so they chose not to tell her, because they figured this is what was said, whether other people believe this or not, that she'll see him soon enough.
Right. She'll see him on the other side.
See him on the other side. And what my cousin's dad went through, just losing both his wife and his son within moments, within
I can't imagine.
hours.
They interviewed one of the family members, as the news does. They tracked someone down who was one of the family members of the survivor and said, "Aren't you so relieved?" And he said, "It's hard to feel that when we lost our other brother and every other family lost everybody on that plane. There's no way to understand how to feel right now," which I think is one of the best things anyone could ever say.
Yeah. It's just to say, I don't know. There's no words.
Right.
There's no words for those kind of losses.
And for the guilt that will come with being the sole survivor. You know?
Wow. You got a lot out there.
I'm at the new nonprofit office that we're so
Yes.
excited about.
Yes.
But it is right downtown, so we can serve our downtown community who
I
largely
love it.
are lower income and transportation is an issue. So now we're walking distance of the city core, but we're also 1 block from the main fire station and 3 blocks from the police department.
Wow.
So we've got lots of emergency traffic around here. And we've
And
had
this
lots of
is,
fires this week.
yes, Jill. And for our listening audience, another like potential loss, nurses, at least and when I went to nursing school, we would write lesson plans based on potential loss of, potential this, potential that. Jill and her wife posted, and Jill sent to me. At first, I thought it was the fire itself, which was what, half a football field away from you, max?
It was a little bit further than that, but it was we live on a mountain. And so
Yes.
our mountain caught fire in a
And so
weird place. It didn't catch on the bottom. It started in the middle of the hill, which is weird.
Yes. And so now there's helicopters dropping pink foam, which
Borate.
matches my orange. Oh, it looked pink to me.
No, it's borate. It's hot pink.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And dropping this foam, and I'm like, oh no. And I think about, okay, now, I mean, if there were fires that close, I mean, there's floods that close to us. So you're on high alert. And
All
then
the
you
time.
get a little rational. When is it that I need to leave? When is it that I now need to gather? Another person I know who's 84 talked about what memories, physical, tangible memories, stuff do they hold in their house? And I think, everybody does that. You weigh out, when's it time to go? When's it time to leave? And you're thinking, so that you're not enjoying because you're spending so much time thinking.
And when you're at work, your watch duty app goes off. And most of our community now has watch duty because it tells you when there's a fire near your house. You set the parameters and it sounds like a fire alarm. And so the whole office sounded like it was alarming. And I turned on my security cam at home that looks at the driveway, which also gets the hill on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so you watch the smoke. And if it's getting too close, then you head for home. So when I headed for home, there were about 35 fire trucks on the main street leading into our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. We had 7 helicopters and 2 air support bomber jets. And they did an amazing job. Oh my goodness, did they? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both
right. You can't relax during fire season, and you do have to know where things are in your house, so you know where to go, what to grab. I immediately had texts coming in. Do you need us to come get the dogs or the cats? You have to have that infrastructure during fire season.
Right. And I know during bad storms around here.
Right.
I gather my meds, right? I gather in a bag. I just shove them all in there and I put that next to my purse. by my bed. I just take it upstairs to bed in case something happens
With
that
the
I
phone
have.
with the charger.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
phone and well, I have that right there, right next to
Yep.
my bed.
Because you
So
got to be able to go. And, we've got hurricane season coming. So while we're doing fire season out here, those of you on the East Coast and in the South, you're looking at hurricane season now. So we have the potential losses and the need to use humor to lighten it so that we can get through it, because otherwise it won't do us any good to survive, because we won't be having a life.
you know, exactly. And I'll share with you to show you one sense of my humor when actually I'm pretty nervous about something. I think I had told you I'd been to the dentist and they were looking at one little part. And while the dentist himself said, I don't think that's cancer, whatever, I said, I'd like an oral surgeon to at least take a look at it and then maybe do a biopsy. So
Right.
I went to the oral surgeon, nurse practitioner, but she's done a bazillion biopsies, right? And knows which ones come back. She said, it's only 2 millimeters and we'll watch it. She goes, well, let me take a picture now. So you open up your mouth real wide. And she takes a picture. And then, of course, she wants you to see what she saw. And she puts it up on a screen, right? And it's extra large. I don't focus in on the 2 millimeter possible cancer. I don't focus on any of those worries. What am I concerned about? And I must have gone on for about 30 seconds about it because I said, oh my God, look at those lip hairs. They're curling in. I have a freaking mustache and it's showing up. And I went on and on. She's laughing, right? Because I changed my brain. I focused on something else. I did a joke setup, which would be I didn't minimize. I I minimized the worry and maximized something else, exaggerated something else, which entertains me, right? I learned that from Mad Magazine. And
Right.
so, yes, so that's
Distraction and making fun and making
making
humor,
life
all of it. Right.
right.
And that is what we need to focus on, I think, right now, with so much going on around us, because it does seem to just be swirling.
There's a lot of people have a lot of reasons to feel. And sometimes when you don't show feeling to someone else, that's also a feeling. We've
Mm-hmm.
all been not, uh, your reality hasn't been recognized,
Right.
for lack of a better word. And that can be frustrated, or someone has a totally different reality, totally different perspective, and you feel put down because they're not willing to look at yours. And so or you're not willing to look at theirs, however it
Mm-hmm.
works. And be gentle with yourselves, folks.
Please do.
Drink lots of water, especially in areas that it's going to be hot. It'll be warm here for us, not for you. You would welcome 81 degrees. And
That would be ideal. It's
yeah,
already 84 here, and it's
yeah, 10 o'clock,
10:30 in the morning.
10:30.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
heading for 90 something today.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And here it's 69 degrees, it says.
Oh gosh, I miss the lacrosse weather so much.
Oh, oh yeah. That was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
All right, my friend, have a safe weekend. Everybody, please be safe. Do what you need to do to take care of you and your heart and your country this weekend. And to keep your father close or not close, depending on the need and the desire. And we'll see you next week.
yes, we will.
And
Bye
we'll
bye,
have some
everyone.
cool, we're having some cool people coming to join us soon. We'll keep you
We are.
posted. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.